Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I had an epiphany, and I get those an awful lot because the wheels are constantly turning in my head. I was thinking about multitasking and how our society seems to be absolutely obsessed with it. And as I was pondering more and more about it, I realized that traditional schooling is nothing more than educational multitasking. Okay, so let's get started about what multitasking actually is. Because years and years ago, multitasking might have been considered to be changing the baby's diaper or answering the phone while cooking dinner. And while that certainly can be considered multitasking because you are doing multiple tasks at once, it has gone far beyond that in our society today. You know, if you just think about it, how many mothers have you seen at, for example, their daughter's dance class? And while they're there, supposed to be watching their kids dance, instead they are scheduling appointments, working on a proposal for their job, writing out a shopping list, talking on the phone, just all kinds of distractions that are keeping them from focusing on what they're actually in that place for, which is watching their kids. And you know, we homeschooling moms, we are just as guilty as the next person. We have all of a sudden come up with a new homeschool method, which isn't necessarily good. And I wish that I actually knew who to give credit to for coining this phrase, because it is perfect, but not in a good way. And it's phone schooling. And yeah, that's something that a lot of us homeschool moms and dads are guilty of, you know, because how many times have we ourselves been busy unloading the dryer, calling the doctor's office, folding the laundry, and also helping our kids with math? And you know, you might think, oh, well, you know, that's great if you can do that. But really, if you think about it, what comes out of that a lot? Because I know that I personally have done this. And do you know what happens more often than not? Those math problems that I'm helping my kids with, they get them wrong. Because instead of focusing on them and me reading the entire question to see exactly what it is that they are being asked, I'm too distracted by everything else, and my children suffer the repercussions because of it. And you know, going one step further, you know, multitasking can be dangerous in certain situations. How often do you hear of distracted drivers nowadays who are just too important to wait to answer a text until they either pull over to the side of the road or get to their destination? They just have to answer that text right then and there. And what happens? They run through a light. Sometimes they cause accidents. Sometimes they hit pedestrians. And I don't know how many times I have actually witnessed that myself, where I will be at a red light and I'll see someone next to me just go sailing right through the light, and as they're driving past, you see that they're holding a phone up to their ear. Multitasking is not as good as people are making it out to be. And I know that it's like a huge thing. You know, there's books about how to multitask, and there's blogs about it, and there's articles. You know, multitasking, because we just live in a world where everyone thinks that you just have to have it all. But there are serious repercussions to this. Because while you are out and about trying to get multiple things done all at one time, yeah, you might be accomplishing more in that time, but it's getting done really shoddily. You're not doing a good job when you're doing any of that stuff. If you can't take the time to focus on one thing at a time, like for example, helping your kids with math, focusing on that one thing at a time, you're going to suffer consequences for it. And you know, I've come to the realization that that is really what is happening in traditional schooling. Because multitasking is about distractions, isn't it? And the way that subjects are presented in traditional schooling, they're not really presented in a way that is going to create deep thinking. They're not presented in a way that are going to help kids to retain learning, to actually know how to make sense of the world. They're created more in a way to distract them. You know, ringing bells every 45 minutes, changing subjects every 45 minutes, bringing home homework for 3 or 4 different subjects in which the kids are, you know, they've actually grown so used to just switching from one thing to another, to another, to another. There is no concentration on any one thing anymore. So what ends up happening is there is no one area that anyone is good at. I can't say anyone, but that a lot of kids are good at anymore, or a lot of adults even, because we were brought up this way. And unless you overcome this as an adult and realize it, you know, you're going to be stuck in that mindset. And you know, somebody actually did make a comment on one of my other videos. I wish I could remember who it was, but she basically said, I am good at a lot of things because of school, but I am great at nothing. And that is the most insightful thing that I have heard in a long time, because it is so true. You can do a good job at several things, especially if you're only doing them, as with school subjects, in very shallow, brief intervals of just learning little bits and pieces of things. You can be good at those, but what are you actually, or what are your children actually going to be great at if they are not being given the opportunity to just go deeply into something that holds their interest, something that they know they are going to need for an actual purpose? And you know, the whole reason that I didn't even title this, you know, a public schooling, I said traditional schooling on purpose, because it's not just public schooling that does school in this multitasking educational way. Public schools do it, a lot of private schools do it, and a lot of homeschools do it, especially those who are, again, having kids do these like 8 to 10 different subjects a year, little snippets of each one, and just switching from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Yes, that is multitasking. That is a world of distractions that are actually preventing kids from doing the deep learning that they need to get an education. This multitasking style of educating is not education at all. It is schooling. And I think that as homeschoolers, if you are a homeschooler, I'm assuming you are if you're watching this, but even if you're not, you can definitely take something from this. As homeschoolers, we need to reject that model of learning, because it's not something that was ever created to help people to just be more intelligent. It was never created to make a better world, to make better worker bees, sure, but not better individuals. And that, as homeschooling parents, is what we need to look for our kids. We have got to finally come to the realization, both in our educational model that we take with our kids and in our everyday lives, you know, and this is something that I'm really convicted about, because I have issues with this. I am constantly trying to multitask. As a mom of 11, you know, I homeschool, I have a blog, I have a YouTube channel, I write unit studies, I've got all this stuff going on. And yes, that's how those things like that math, the math situation that I was telling you about, that's how those things creep up on me, because I too try to get everything done at one time without actually giving my full focus to one thing. And isn't that what our kids deserve? They deserve our full focus, just as they deserve to have things that they can focus on that are not mere distractions for them, but are actually going to turn into passions for them. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. It might take a little bit, but I do answer questions when you ask. And if you like my work, I encourage you to check out my Patreon page and see what I have for all of my patrons there. And I hope you have a great day.